a somewhat shorter period. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm joined, TUSK and I are both joined by Mr. M. On my channel, I'm joined by TUSK and Mr. M. On TUSK's channel, he's joined by me and Mr. M. But it's the merry band of brothers back together again. How are you, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
All right. Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
I'm coping. I don't have a beard.
Under the terrible strain of modern existential woe.
I shaved. There's been quite a few comments on the stream I did with Rich Cooper. We did that I was looking very serious, but I think it was just struggling to hear. A very bad Mexican internet connection. I mean, I didn't really know what was going on the entire time. Not that I do anyway, usually, but even more so than usual.
I think everyone was looking quite serious on that stream, though.
It was a very serious stream. It had serious undertones, but he is that kind of old school. I guess not 2D alpha male, but you look at him and go, right, he could probably tear someone's head off and enjoy eating it for his breakfast. He's that kind of like stereotypical, that alpha guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a kind of a no-nonsense sort of dude, isn't he? He's not messing around.
He's not getting up and singing Barbie Girl as a social freedom exercise and doing stand-up in a pink tutu. Let's put it that way.
No, he's not on the bar.
He's wrestling bears and tearing people's heads off.
He's not on the bar in Ayia Napa, like after a couple of shots, like
letting out his more feminine side. He's definitely not.
No,
but he's got his he's that kind of male archetype. That kind of barbarian.
But it was a good show. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about. So I've been doing this series, as people watching my channel will know, about inner game, which is basically the battle that you wage against yourself. You fight the battle. You've got the external battlefield, which is in the game perspective. Okay, so what am I going to say to that girl? What do I do if she flakes? What if her friend comes in and ruins the interaction? You've got all that external stuff. But equally, and even more importantly, arguably, we're also sort of battling against ourselves because we've got these inner demons, fear of approaching, fear of rejection, low self-esteem, maybe issues with depression and anxiety and all of this kind of stuff. So the inner game stuff is really important. And today, what we wanted to turn the focus onto was something that we've all experienced and talked about off camera a lot, which is the sort of inner game you need during traveling, right? Because we've been traveling a lot. Obviously, TUSK in particular travels the whole time. Me and Mr. M are becoming more nomadic. Mr. M has been traveling most of the summer. So, yeah, you do, like Mr. M, I mean, you need a certain amount of mental fortitude, don't you? Because you're in Europe, you're completely out of your home country. You're just doing your own thing, and you're actually even traveling on your own at the moment. So you do need a little bit of like mental inner game, don't you, to sort of withstand that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's a little bit overlooked, this topic, because people think, oh, when you go and travel, it's all fun and games. Everything is going to be great. And a lot of times people, when they travel, it's only for a limited period of time for their holiday. But as you mentioned, Troy, when you're kind of doing it more on a permanent basis or more long term, and TUSK, you've been doing it for quite a few years now. There's a lot of stuff that people don't realize that they kind of have to go through when traveling, especially when doing it alone for certain periods. A lot of stuff you have to deal with. At times, it can be a little bit lonely, especially when you go to a new country, a new culture. You don't know anybody there. You don't know anything. And it's just kind of easy just to like stay cooped up in your hotel room or Airbnb. So there are a lot of initial mental challenges you just have to, get through in terms of, just going out there, putting yourself out there. And again, it takes time, but yeah, just even me traveling for quite a few years now, I'm still dealing with it. And I think we all do to a certain degree. So you're never really over it. You can only just use your reference experience as like a, you know, certain level that, hey, everything's going to be all right. You just have to put yourself out there and kind of, go through the motions. But yeah, we're all human. So even to this day, even coming, for example, I'm in Prague. Initially, the first few days, new culture, new city. I don't really know anybody here. You still have to go through those initial challenges to put yourself out there.
Yeah, you always get that kind of existential. It takes a few days to bed in, doesn't it? James, we were talking about that. You get to the new city. It takes you a few days to really get acclimatized to it and really sometimes see the value in the new place that you visited.
Yeah, I try and switch off the emotion as much as possible because I know I'm just going to be anxious for the first 2 or 3 days. I know it's going to be a bit of a shit show. I know I'm not going to. You just kind of get this overwhelming, generalized anxiety of a new culture, new people, new language, new smells, new kind of vibrations, emotions, and I know I'm going to go through it every time. So I don't plan too much. I don't put too much pressure on myself those first few days. I mean, in an ideal world, you actually hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And you start smashing the approaches. But if I'm feeling very out of sorts, I know it's coming because it's happened before. So I'm not, I'm actually just kind of more trying to be kind to myself and do stuff I like, slip into a nice Hugh Hefner style dressing gown, visit a nice happy ending massage parlor with all the extracurriculars put on top, book into a nice Marriott hotel. You just kind of, you relax, go out for a nice meal. You don't stress too much about it because you know it's part of the game.
Kind of ease yourself in.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the reason that this is pertinent is because earlier in the talking about this in a game stuff and the dating market in general, I've been making the argument, which we all make really, which is that dating is kind of tough for guys these days, but a great hack if you want to have a more abundant, interesting dating life is to travel. It is to go to different places. And because now we've got this more sort of work from home culture, work remote culture that's been fostered during the pandemic, there is this opportunity now to get on a plane and go somewhere else. And for many guys who are sort of struggling because they're living in a small town in England or America or whatever, we recommend that as a good solution. But of course, on the other side of that, you do have to handle these sorts of you have to handle these sorts of like the mental inner game side of it. But I mean, Mr. M, you traveled quite a bit before you started doing this as a kind of a lifestyle thing anyway, hadn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. So when I was working the corporate job, I would basically take all my vacation time to plan these solo day game trips. So I initially had that experience of going somewhere new by myself. So like let's say I'll go to this country for a week. Yeah, for the first few days, kind of like what we just talked about, I kind of had to deal with the, anxiety, being a little anxious, new city, having to find a gym, having to find where to eat, and obviously going to some of the areas to, meet some girls. So obviously I had that experience, but that was kind of like a short-lived 1 to 2 week period. Now it's becoming more of like a permanent lifestyle. So it's still kind of the same thing, but again, having that reference experience does help, but
Yeah.
it doesn't totally go away. Like James says, so you just have to take the emotions out of it quickly and then just kind of, calm yourself down and just say everything's going to be all right. And again, just start putting yourself out there, and then you'll realize after the first few days, everything's going to be all right.
Something
You
that
are.
sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, I am mourning the loss of Mr. M to my buddy Troy. He has stolen him. It's devastating. Hence why I'm off to Thailand to find some ladyboy sausage. But yeah, I think something that I picked up recently from Tim Ferriss, who, he almost did this kind of idea of this hero's journey. So he'd moved to, say, Buenos Aires, right? He doesn't speak Spanish. He doesn't know anyone. But his goal was to become semi-professional with salsa in 6 months. So he had a very clear goal. So then all of that, it's that kind of Nietzsche thing of the why, and then you overcome all the hardships and the what and the how. So I think you can do that on a mini level, can't you, with cities? It can be, I'm going to go and explore. And my mate used to build the co-author of a texting book I released, used to build himself a map for when he first arrived into Belgrade, for example, of a couple of cool restaurants he wanted to see, a couple of cool cafes, like some sort of war museum, a couple of shopping centres, and then he'd just build that on Google Maps and walk it. And there's no emotion attached. It's like, oh, I'm exploring the city. If I happen to see some women, I'm going to say hello, but there's no emotion attached. So I think that's a good idea. If you're going to spend longer in a place, you can always hero's journey it. Like if you're moving to Thailand, if I was going to Thailand for 3 months, I'd say to myself, probably, right, I'm going to move. I'm going to go and, I'm going to be in Koh Samui, but I'm actually going to train for a fight. And so that takes the pressure off what you're actually doing. Because if you go there going, right, I'm going to go and have loads of orgies with women, it's a massive self-imposed pressure you've created, which doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Or,
And
I was
James,
saying,
they kind of
So I think giving yourself little kind of hero's journeys or little things to do is a very cool idea, because it kind of externalizes the pressure to another waypoint. and then you happen to be dating along the way, but it's not really the focus. And I think actually that's the best way to be as a man, because if you think about an actualized hypothetical alpha male who's on his mission, he's not thinking about, Conan the Barbarian. He's not going, the movie isn't starting with Arnie going, oh yeah, I really want to go and get this bird. It's like he's got to go and do all this stuff. And then these women happen to be in his life on the way. So he's still got to approach, but that's not the focus. So I think doing that for guys or for me has really helped.
It's the same thing with the James Bond movies, isn't it? Bond, obviously he meets the girls along the way, but it's not like at the beginning he's like, oh, I'm going to go and get some hot girls. It's not, that's not his mission, right? And it's that old thing, being on your mission.
Absolutely. And I think that's what men should do, rather than seeing this term of the Euro jaunt. That's great. But going out with the idea of I've got to go and sleep with 4 girls, I've got to go and have 7 instant dates, and all this nonsense, it creates a lot of pressure on yourself, and if you don't get that outcome, you're not going to enjoy it. And B, it's going against that kind of alpha, that kind of hypothetical masculine thing of you being on your mission.
Well, because part of the travel stuff, and we've talked about this maybe for next year, going to some more obscure places and things. I mean, a lot of it, well, most of it really is just to go and see those weird places, like to go to Kazakhstan or, Uzbekistan. Apologies to anybody from the stands who's watching this. I'm not saying your countries are weird, but, for us, it feels very foreign and very sort of interesting and fascinating. And that really is the point of it. That's the ultimate point of it. Now, there's maybe some dating along the way as well. Yeah, sure. But that's not the focus, right? It's about exploration.
I'd honestly say, because I've been toying with this and always toying with ideas to give to clients to really help them enjoy this whole process of life, and also kind of the process of obviously going to be sociable. And if you can see it like that, like you don't going to other things, and then women just happen to be part of it, like you're obviously going to go and say hello if you see her, it's going to make your entire experience of this entire thing so much more enjoyable. Also going into the conversations, and me and Les bang on about this a lot, but going in with no ulterior motive other than to simply enjoy socializing. And that's why we always talk about bantering and having fun with people, and you're not going in with any agenda. If you're truly doing that, talking and bantering and being sociable with everyone with no outcome needed, just the pure enjoyment of bantering, because that's fun to do for you, but then as a side effect, bringing that value into someone's life is fun for them. You'll be getting laid like a rock star anyway. Combining that with not actually chasing women around as your goal in a place. It's more about explore the fucking place, write it as a kind of journal. I mean, you're onto a winner. You'll have incredible amounts of fun. There's no pressure. You actually reduce that internal pressure you feel that we've all had when we land in a place and we're like, fuck, solo day game trip. And you just feel the pressure mounting because it's just nonsense. What you've put on yourself is absolute garbage. And it's self-imposed, right? Self-imposed prison from a game perspective. So no need to do that. And it's like saying, hypothetically, I've got to go and find a wife in a year in a particular city. Talk about the fucking pressure. I mean, you can't enjoy anything. You're going out for the beautiful Russian opera. You're going out for a 5-star meal, but all you're thinking about is the wife hunt, right? It's a wrong mission. Having women as the mission, conversely, is wrong. Now, this is ironic because we're dating coaches, but it's kind of tricks of the mind around it, isn't it? It's in a game kind of workings around it to actually give you maximum enjoyment with minimal self-imposed pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having said that, I mean, Mr. M, I think you are one of the best I've met in terms of you get to the location and it is right. Listen, right, first couple of days, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to speak to as many people as I can, really socialize to get together that sort of foundation of like leads, let's say, before you then maybe sort of slow things down a bit as the trip goes on.
Yeah, I still do that. That's just, I'm not saying that's the best for everybody because some people might want to ease their way in, but I just kind of like want to get the wheels rolling. So that's what I still do, where within the first couple of days, I'll probably do 30 to 40 approaches, but kind of harping on what James, what you mentioned, kind of setting that kind of hero's journey. So for example, in Belgrade, I was there for a month. So there would be days where I would map out, say, hey, I'm going to go to this museum, to that museum, and they'll take like 40, 45 minutes to walk to. So kind of like you would develop a route, and then obviously along the way you can approach. And some of the best experiences in terms of girls that I met and dated have come from like those routes that you would take, because literally it feels a little bit more genuine. You can say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
on my way to the museum, but I just wanted to say hi. Or when I was walking home from the gym or from dinner, I would, meet a girl. So I do like that element. I've been implementing that a lot more now in terms of picking like a tour site instead of taking a cab there, walking there, especially if it's a nice day. And that's a great way of meeting women, because you're still focused on like the end goal, but you're just being social along the way. But yeah, Troy, again, yeah, I would still spend the first few days though, just kind of beast moding it, approaching a lot of girls. But I think both ways is still a good thing to
Yeah.
do, along the way, lifestyle. And then if you just want to get the initial few out of the way, just go out there, be social, and see what comes through.
Definitely. There's something to be said for just turning up at the new location. And actually, James, you've done this as well. You're a sort of exponent of this, where you get to the new location. It's almost like you want to speak to somebody, you want to do an approach almost at the airport, because then it sort of breaks it breaks that fear barrier of it, right?
Yeah, I think building social momentum, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the old days, that was what I would do. I'd just charge around, first few days, really hit it hard. And I've got no issue with doing that as a tactic, just to build some momentum. Because what you don't want to do is kind of do that thing of landing in a place, sitting in your Airbnb, it's raining outside, and you're like, oh, and you kind of go into your shell, start loading up YouTube videos, and kind of have an existential, not quite Anthony Bourdain where you're hanging from the rafters, but you're not in a good mental way. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely think you should hit it hard in a new location. But for me, the way to do it, I think, is kind of cloak it with you're exploring the place, and you've got all these things to do. You've had a look on Google Maps, and you've mapped out some restaurants and some cool bars you want to explore. And actually, if you think about us, Troy, in Moscow and particularly St. Petersburg, we almost had this kind of externalized hero's journey of let's create some really cool content. Let's coach King Cole. Let's go and explore the fucking, savior of blood. Let's go and find, go along Dumskar and go to some seedy, find some interesting places. And as a side effect, obviously, if we see a hot girl, we're going to say hello. But again, we haven't made it about we have to get a certain number of numbers or blah, blah, blah. And so the whole process is less forced, it's more fun, and it's more natural. And we're also kind of like, if we came home and we hadn't actually closed anything, or there haven't been any birds, we haven't felt hard done by, have we? Because we've actually kind of had something to do. So I think doing that is just a good way of kind of putting a lack of outcome dependence on the whole thing.
100%. Somebody said here, I find when I'm in a new city, you can make the approach easier by using indirect, because you can approach locals with genuine reason, whereas at home, direct is better. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know so much about the indirect versus direct thing, but I think one thing is that when you're in a foreign place, the kind of conversations you were talking about, James, where you're going up and there's no agenda, it's very, very much social. I find it slightly easier to do that in a sort of foreign place, because it's very authentic, because you're like, hey, we're in this foreign place. Hey, cool. Like, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to find out more. And that's very authentic. Whereas when you're in London or in your hometown, it would feel a bit forced to do that in some way. So I think travel's easier for this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's we call it lost tourist, don't we? Where we're genuinely just trying to ask for like where is something, or where are we going? What should we do? I mean, a guy actually asked about indirect. I think earlier in the chat, Troy. I don't know if the question's there.
Was it this one though? Was he talking about?
No, if you scroll up, one of the earlier comments was something about indirect.
There's something about. There's a question for you.
Anem's Fayer.
Sorry?
The person's name is Anem's Fayer.
Yeah, Mr. Fayer. What's your opinion on indirect game? And I was going to say that a lot of what we do is actually kind of, I guess Torero would term it indirect, direct. It's essentially going up and starting a conversation. You're like, hey, I wanted to say hello. You're not being necessarily very direct, are you, with your verbals? But you're kind of being a bit like, hey, and putting it on with the eye contact and stuff. And that's pretty much, I mean, a lot of what we were doing in Russia, Troy, wasn't really direct, was it? It wasn't, you're beautiful. It was like, hey, how you doing? And you just kind of see where it goes. And again, less pressured in a way. Now, this isn't to say you start charging around asking people for the time, and then 10 minutes later say, "Oh, I actually thought you were hot." Obviously, you're not going that route.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those sort of nuanced conversations, isn't it? Well, you know, we'll probably, if Alan Roger Curry is watching this, he'll probably do another like 3-hour live stream about us slagging this off, because it's sort of like what is direct really? I mean, so to some extent you could argue we're kind of going indirect, because we're not walking up to her and saying, "Oh, I think you're really sexy, I want to sleep with you." But at the same time, we are sort of making our interest known, even if it's through the non-verbals. It's through the eye contact and, you know, the position and how you're standing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think just to add to the travel element, I think next year, 100%, I've got a list of like kind of, you know, challenges and adventure shit that I want to do. And then, yeah, you know, the approaching will be part of that alongside. But again, I think it's a very good kind of inner game hack to just kind of take the pressure off. So, you know, I know, you know, me and Troy want to go exploring the Stangs, but within those countries, we'll find some cool stuff to do. So this guy was telling me about, I think in August in Mongolia, they have this fucking deer hunting festival with everyone brings out their prize eagle and goes and hunts the deer, and it's a competition so you can catch the biggest deer. I mean, that would be hilarious. If we're just sitting there. we all have a big eagle, and then you just go and fucking hunt
with our eagles in our hands. Sorry, Mr. M, do you have a point there?
Yeah, just to close off, I mean, to help answer the questions in terms of what I'm doing, I still initially do the direct in terms of I let the girl know that I find her attractive, not in an overly sexual way. I'll just say that, hey, I wanted to come say hi. I thought you looked nice. But then, as James mentioned, and you, Troy, since you're in a new city, you can still use the lost tourist, and you can ask about, hey, what are some of the cool things to do about here? What are, you know, the areas that the locals go to? But I kind of mix in between the initial direct, but then also have like a normal conversation. Whereas, you know, if you're back in your home city, you know, you can't really do that. You just have to be more direct. But when you're traveling, I like to mix in being direct first, make sure that the girl knows why I'm talking to her, but then at the same time, mix in the element that you are a visitor in their new city, and you want to know about the culture and some cool places to go to. So you're kind of mixing in both.
Yeah, exactly. Because you've got to be a little bit careful, because we saw students on some of the events we were teaching over the summer. You know, you get the student and they would almost go in and sort of say, "Hey, I'm here for a few days. What are the 5 top?" You know, and it's very unsexy, and it just sets the wrong sort of frame, because then she's going, "Well, you should go to the castle, and you should go to the church, the cathedral, and blah blah blah." But it's not. You want to have that flirtatious undertone as well.
Yeah, because some of the girls, if they're English, because I generally speak a little bit fast, and sometimes even after I opened up, maybe they didn't hear carefully enough. They'll tell me, "Oh, do you need anything?" And I'm like, "No, I just first wanted to say hi. I thought you looked nice." And then blah, blah, and then once they understood, if they're not interested or if they have a boyfriend, then they'll be, "Okay, well, I have to get going." So you still want to make the message clear, so you're not wasting your time and having like a 10-15 minute conversation, because the girl thinks you just want to know about directions or city sites, and then you bring up at the end, "Hey, let's go for a drink," and she's like, "Well, I got a boyfriend."
Yeah, exactly. Or after 40 minutes, as our friend in Helsinki was like 40-minute conversation on the street, and then at the end, she's like, "Oh, I got a boyfriend." Oh, okay. There's a question for you guys here. It says, "How do you deal with the feeling of being attached to one girl?" It's the age-old problem, isn't it? I don't want to, but I am, and it's affecting my routines in game.
Just have to. Go, James.
No, I mean, there's not really much to say. I mean, if you're gonna develop an emotional attachment to some people, because you're just gonna get on better with them. I mean, I think this is the problem anyway. If you start to see more than, say, you know, 3 girls, and you're actually, say, in the same city, and you have a bit of an emotional connection with them, I mean, any motivation really to go out and do other stuff tends to drain, doesn't it? In my experience, because you just can't be fucking asked. Is it a bad thing to have an attachment to one girl? It depends what phase of life you're in. It depends what you want.
Yeah,
I don't want to, but I am. I mean, I guess you've got to go just kind of decide what you want. I mean, if you're in a situation you don't want to be in the situation, you just got to cut it off, really.
Which obviously
Nick, maybe state your age, but I'll just say that look, it's not bad to have a connection with a girl, but if you're finding yourself where, as you mentioned, if you're attached and it's affecting you to do other stuff in your life, then you know it's an issue. And then obviously you should obviously limit, maybe see the person once a week, and then just go out there and talk to other girls so that you're not overly dependent on one. But yeah, if it's getting to a point where one girl is consuming all of your mental, activities, and you just want to like all your time, then that's an issue, because then it's going to be harder to break it off. Or if there is a breakup, you're going to fall into that cycle of, shit, my whole life is crushed, because a lot of guys, they center one person around their whole life, social activities, everything. That's not a good place to be in. They call it one-itis.
I am 34. She is 24.
Well, it's the age.
Yeah, I would say limit it to see her once a week, and then try to go out, talk to a few other girls, and then try to maybe see 2 to 3 girls, because that will kind of limit your, what we say, one-itis, or we can say attachment to this one person. That doesn't mean to say that you can't see them if you have a good connection, but if you're becoming overly attached, you need to be careful and make sure that you don't get too attached to where she's consuming all of your time and energy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people essentially do what they want to do, don't they? So, I mean, he's saying, I don't want to, but, if your actions are you're spending a lot of time with the girl and you're not really out approaching, that there's a kind of a, what's the word?
problem?
Dimorphism between what you think you want and what you actually seem to want, because your actions are you're chilling with a girl, seemingly having a good time, because why on earth would you be with her otherwise, unless it's laziness?
Yeah. The problem is we always want, the grass is always greener for all of us, isn't it? If we have a girlfriend and it's great and we get the Netflix and chill time and the sex is there and all that, and that's great, but then we're thinking in the back of our mind, yeah, but I could just be in Montenegro, like chasing random girls. And then when we're in Montenegro and we're chasing random girls, we're thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice to be snuggled up on the couch with, Alison, and we could be watching Netflix like we used to, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, unfortunately, I think as guys, and I think women as well, we kind of want both, really. We sort of want that security of that relationship with that person who's very close to us, but we also, we kind of want a bit of strange on the side. And it's very, very hard to sort of mesh those two things together.
Well, it's exactly as women. Women have this kind of dualistic mating strategy, don't they? They call it alpha bucks, beta bucks. But men have not the same with that, but the same need. But all humans need variety.
Yeah, that's the big problem.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But I think as well, sometimes guys have this, they're watching channels like this and they're listening to us talking about, just travel to Russia, do this, blah, blah, blah. And they think, oh, I'm with this girl and I'm doing something wrong, because actually I should be out there charging around and whatever. And I think I'm just a libertarian. I think people should do what they want to do. I think if you're with a girl, you like that girl, you want to be in a relationship with her, just do that. You don't have to do what we're doing just because we're banging on about it. It's like you should do what feels right for you at the time.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having both, because as we all know, it's good, especially as you get older, you want to start looking to some relationships, especially if you have a good connections with girls. So, for example, before coming to Prague here, I was in Warsaw over the weekend. I didn't do any approaching, but I just kind of chilled with the girl that I met. that I met prior in the summer, because we had a good connection. I wanted to see her again, and we had a really good time. So again, there's nothing wrong with hanging out with someone, but at the same time, though, you just if you're writing that you don't want to, that means that there's that itch. So you should just try to limit yourself and try to go out there and meet other girls. But there's still nothing wrong with maintaining relationships, as long as it's done in a way and you're not consuming all your time and energy with one person.
Yeah, definitely. So just whack through some of these quickly. What is the difference between inner game and outer game? So I think outer game is the external stuff that you do. So what are you going to say when you walk up to her? Are you going to tease? Are you going to be cocky funny? Are you going to, use a little bit of touch? How are you going to flirt? Eye contact, posture, all of that stuff, body language. Inner game is you've got certain insecurities about yourself. Maybe you think she's too hot for you. you think that you are not attractive enough, you think you're not tall enough, you're not, I don't know, whatever, jacked enough, whatever it is. So how do you deal with your self-perception? Okay, so I think that's the difference between the two. And ideally, you want to have both of them on point. You want to be very, very comfortable with yourself. You want to think that you are, because it's like anything. If you're a salesman and you think your product's a bit crap, it's very hard to sell that to the customer. So you've got to kind of think that the product is good, even if now objectively there may be improvements that need to be done. We all need to make improvements in certain areas, but you've got to think, well, look, I'm awesome as I am. Also, I'm also working towards improving myself in these areas. So I'm a really good prospect. And then you've got to go out with that in mind and then do the games, do the outer stuff.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
Yeah, I'm the
Very
prize
true,
mentality.
isn't it? That mentality is great of you're the product. And yeah, if you think if you essentially don't have your own back and you don't think you're great, it's going to be very hard to sell yourself. It's very true. It's very true.
John MLD is on the stream. Good to see you, man. We did a good conversation. We did a good stream yesterday on John's channel, and obviously
about in a game.
Yeah, we're talking about in a game. We were talking about CAD Academy, but then obviously within the first 10 minutes, we got down to the common denominator of talking about death and existentialism and what's the point of it all.
Well, you've got to have strong in a game to realize you're mortal, because if you truly accept one day you're going to fucking die, that gives you the ultimate frame to do what the fuck you want in life with no real consequence. But most people, what they try and do is push death away as this kind of foreign object, don't they? But if you really embrace your own mortality and,
Well, although when we were talking to John, when we did that show with him, he said he's got actually the opposite view. We won't get into this massively now, but he said he's got the opposite view where he almost sees himself as immortal and he can do anything. That's an interesting sort of different way of looking at it, isn't it?
So how does it work, though?
Well, we'll have to get him on and find out. But
all right, bring him in.
Well, we can do. John, if you want to come on and explain it, but we've got to get off in about 15 minutes, but really, because although we could do a 2-minute silence on the stream, I suppose. 2 minutes of dead air time for the guys.
See yourself. So I like this flip mindset. Is that his personal take, though, or is that?
Don't you remember when we did the stream with him, and he was saying that he just regards it in that different way. He thinks of himself as almost. I suppose it's like being unstoppable. You can do anything. Maybe he'll
like this hero, this legend.
Yeah. Maybe he'll explain
life as an art canvas kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe he'll explain in the chat. But this dude has said, "How do you deal with homesickness when on constant travel?" That's an interesting one, isn't
it? I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess if you say, yeah. I mean, I'm just using myself as an example, but I guess technically my home is the UK. London, even though I haven't lived there really for 4 years. I've got friends and family and historical ties here. So I guess that would be home. Yeah, it can be tough, can it? There's a brilliant little trailer from the author who wrote American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, that you sent me.
Yeah.
Called Rules of Attraction, a movie from 2002, where it's just literally this guy charging around, American dude, having crazy sex in Amsterdam and just crazy experiences, but almost he gets on the plane home after I don't know how long the period of time is, and he's kind of like had this kind of out of body, like, who the fuck am I experience. And I've definitely gone through periods of that, traveling around, because you reach a new place, you don't know anyone, culture, language is different, you feel like an outsider, even though you're not, because every single person on planet Earth is born alone and they'll die alone. So we have this kind of myth when we walk into a bar, or something I used to have is when I walk into a bar in Brazil or turn up for a night out, it's like walk into the club. Everyone knows each other. They don't. Yeah. They're all on their own. They're all got their own fears, insecurities, blah, blah, blah. But we have this kind of, I used to kind of think it was kind of me versus them. Obviously, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. That's a good hack. That's a good hack even for your own home city as well, because there could even be, you go out in London and you think, oh, it's like it's this block of everybody else versus me, and they all kind of know each other, and it's like, am I going to fit in with them or not? But there is no them. It's just a bunch of individuals.
It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Isn't it? Everyone's on their own, really. It's a self-esteem thing.
Exactly. But let's crack on to talking about some of the sort of travel stuff that we've actually got coming up, because Mr. M, you're in Prague at the moment, right? And guys, you're going to be doing a boot camp, or you're going to be doing a training event. So guys could come over to hang out with you and do some training with you, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it's next week from the 18th to the 21st. Prague, I think, in this space has been one of, if you guys would probably agree, one of the better cities. We can
Yeah.
kind of compare it a little bit to Warsaw in terms of people being pretty receptive. They're pretty nice here. Obviously, Prague's a very cool city. It's very beautiful. It has that kind of old town feel to it, especially now we're in November. So people are starting to put the Christmas lights. So at night, people are walking around with their mulled wine, dressed in their coats, walking around. It's a very beautiful city. But yeah, I think, I've been here for a few days and I've been doing some approaching. Girls are pretty receptive here. There's a lot of foreigners here because a lot of people come for studies from like Poland, Ukraine, Russia. So it's a great place. And I think that for maybe a beginner level, it's a good place to come to because girls are relatively open and receptive. And as we were talking about earlier, you don't have to be super gamey or whatever. You can just have normal conversations and people are pretty warm here. So yeah, it's going to be next week, 18th to the 21st.
Good stuff. So if guys are up for that, going over to Prague, or maybe you're in Prague already, meeting up with Mr. M, and there's a chance I may pop over as well, depending on certain factors. So, but if you're up for doing some training in Prague, which is a fantastic city to do this stuff, because you've got very beautiful girls, very receptive. It's just a great place all around. Then get in touch. You can email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can get in touch with the guys. Mr. M, what's your email address?
I'll put it in our private chat.
Okay. And it's info@jamestusk.com, isn't it?
info@jamestusk.com, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So we've got that, and then the next destination on the list really is. Oh, by the way, actually, I should just say there's a good chance I'm going to be in Moscow next week, by the way. So if anybody's in Moscow, they want to meet up, they want to do a little bit of training, drop me an email as well, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. That's not an official boot camp, but just if if anybody's out there, let me know. But the most important thing then, or the next important thing coming up then, is Brazil, isn't it?
Yeah, Recife, very underrated city in Brazil. It literally translates to reef, and it has quite a bad shark problem. Not us charging around with our dicks in our hands, but actual sharks in the sea. You're not allowed to swim. They have these big nets up. But yeah, I mean, I went there when it was kind of COVID lockdown with a couple of lads, Fluid Social and another guy, and we had a great time. It's really good ratios in bars. It was 70% women, 30% guys, which automatically is brilliant because it creates that chase dynamic. And they're a big fan of foreign men as well, as we all know from people that have been to Brazil. They love foreigners. There's that cultural curiosity. Women there are good looking, and having that kind of combined ratio of 70% to 30%, women to men, plus the fact you're foreign and you can approach, you can do some real damage. So a lot of fun to be had in Recife. We're going to be there 9th to the 12th. We got a couple of guys signed up. Me and Mr. M will be leading that. Troy may join. We'll see what the numbers are saying. And then week after that, we're in Rio, which is now fully open, 16th to 19th. We decided to run an impromptu boot camp there. So that'll be very cool as well. And then obviously after that, the big one where we'll all be in attendance will be Playa del Carmen and Tulum, 7-day New Year's Eve special. I mean, yeah, it's one of the best places in the world for approaching. It's packed with hot girls from all over. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, well, it's funny because this guy further back said, asked if we had any recommendations for New Year's Eve for cold approach, and exactly. I mean, we're going to be in Playa del Carmen, and we're going to be in Tulum, which are it's just. I mean, I'm just so excited for this, man. It's just going to be off the scale, isn't it? I mean, Mr. Am, obviously you've spent time over there. Do you want to just tell the guys a bit about what it's going to be like? Maybe he doesn't. Mr. M.
Yeah.
He's there. He's frozen in time.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so there was a boot camp done in April that Les and TUSK ran, and I would say that, look, I've been doing about 3-4 years solo day gaming. I say to this day, Playa del Carmen was probably the most fun I've ever had because it's just open. Different nationalities from all over South America kind of come to Playa. It's a beach town, so everyone's there to have fun. You can go on instant dates, even if they don't know English, they're free. Bars around every corner. You're by the beach, great weather. So obviously, it was the most fun that I think I've ever had doing this stuff. So take into account that it's going to be New Year's, it should be even maybe on a better scale. So wait and see on that. But I can't describe like how much good it is, especially if, again, if you're from the US, it's pretty easy to get there. You just fly to Cancun, and then it's about a 45-minute drive to Cancun to Playa. So it's a great place to learn this stuff, beginner, intermediate, and you're just going to have probably the most fun you'll ever have. I mean, it's that good of a place.
It's going to be, as our friend Mark Zollo might say, the crack's going to be amazing. It is going to be off the scale. So really very much looking forward to that. So obviously, guys, if you're interested in that, get in touch. TryOutReal.com, info@jamestusk.com, and Mr. M will stick his email address in the comments later. So you can get in touch.
And we're not, I mean, me and Troy have been involved, Troy longer than me, and Mr. M's a newcomer to the industry, but we're not necessarily going to be doing these live events forever because, as Troy said, a lot of what we kind of want to do moving forward is kind of scaling up the online stuff because we can actually help more people. You know, our job is all geared around how many people can we help, what impact can we have, and by doing a lot of the online training, it's about creating that maximum impact and changing as many people's lives as possible, and that is only really doable through scaling things up online. Because when you physically have to be there in the flesh, you can only do so much, and you have to, you're limited by budget. But
exactly,
there you go.
That's Mr. M's email too.
That's Mr. M's email. So with regards to that, we're not saying right these are the last boot camps, but there is kind of we are starting to kind of think about right what are the next steps because as Troy mentioned as well, a lot of the travel we do next year will be for our own pleasure. So off to the Stongs, off to, Tirana, wherever it may be. We're not saying we won't bring students, but that won't be the primary focus necessarily, 6 months, a year from now. So if you are watching this and you would like to join us while we are still going, guns blazing, very strong at it, and actually this is a big focus, do it now. Do it, now or the first half of 2022. It's not really a veiled threat, but it kind of is. To be if you resonate with our stuff and you want to join us in one of these locations and have basically a souped up lads holiday where everyone is, kind of cool and normal guys and also just smashing the approaching, do it sooner rather than later because there is a finite window for all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because none of us are getting any younger. Well, Mr. M is young, but I'm certainly falling off the other end of the scale. So yeah, there is not quite sure when the end point is, but there is certainly a winding down that will inevitably happen over the next year or so. So we've got all those cool events coming up. So John did come back and he said, when I said I would live forever, I was quoting Vince McMahon. I know I will die one day, but I live and learn as I will live forever and drink from the cup of life daily.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
As if I will live forever and drink.
He's the chairman and founder of WWE, right? The big wrestling corporation. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Google that quote and see what he's got to say. We didn't mention the Gene Simmons quote, did we? Which is a very good quote for in a game. I can't remember what it says. Oh yeah, life is so Gene Simmons, who the bassist, I think from Kiss, who slept with, by his own account, written down in his black book, 10,000 women. He said, life is far too short not to have completely delusional notions about yourself. So that is some strong inner game right there, isn't it? Just basically saying, right, I'm going to live. This is my reality. I'm the hero in this journey. I'm the main protagonist. If I think I'm fucking amazing, I am, right? And you are. You should be the front piece. You know, you should be the fucking
Feeling for
hero
yourself.
in your own journey.
Yeah.
The most
Yeah.
important relationship you have in life is with yourself. And if
Exactly.
that's not fully on point, then that needs to be worked on. And really, in a game, I mean, me and Troy were talking about this the other day, but in a game, really, and how you see yourself is the most important thing in everything related to game that you can possibly have. There's nothing more important.
Absolutely.
Is
And
the
on that,
be all and end all.
exactly. And on that note, join CAD Academy because it's open now. It is the world's greatest inner game course. I've been spamming the link in the chat, so have a look at that link. It will give you all the information, and you can go through to enroll on that link. Join us in Prague next week with Mr. M. Recife in Brazil, which is going to be the 9th to the 12th of December. Rio, if you fancy coming to Rio, 18th to 19th of December. And then the big one, which is Mexico, Tulum, and Playa del Carmen from the 27th of December to the 2nd of January. So join us in one of those locations. Get in touch. Drop us an email. We get on a call with you. Work out the best fit for you. We're going to have a blast in all of these places. It's going to be awesome. So look forward to meeting up with you guys very soon in one of those places. And with that, let's bring this to an end because it is Remembrance Day today. And otherwise, we're going to have to do a 2-minute silence live on air, which is probably not great for the viewers. So good to see you guys. And we will be back again very soon. Bye-bye.